archaeologists have found stone tools in Kenya dating back 3.3 million years. So we've been developing technologies for a very long time, be they stone tools or fire, clay, metalwork, transport, communications, medicine. We have developed a lot, and each one has changed ourselves and our society. So it interests me greatly to think, what will the technologies of the future be? What's going to change human society in the next 100 or 200 years' time? Will it be in space, in quantum, in fusion, in net zero, in medicine? There are so many great ideas out there and so many people developing great ideas. But I'm standing here now. I'm not lying on my own private desert island. So clearly I don't know the answer, otherwise I would have bought shares and be on my desert island. I also, as a way of thinking about this, did ask a technology that not so long ago was considered a technology of the future. And when I asked ChatGPT, unsurprisingly, it can also not tell the future. It notes things like blockchain technology being important, renewable energy, green energy, biotechnology, but clearly it also doesn't know the future. And I could stand here today and lecture about some of the great things I see out there that particularly excite me, but really I just don't know. But I have spent 20 years, the last 20 years, developing technologies, and some of these I thought would be technologies of the future, but alas, I'm still not on my desert island, so the ideas I came up with didn't become reality. And I guess that's the great lesson from this, is that an idea is one thing, but to have it become adopted and embedded in society, we really need to have a whole ecosystem around it. We need people to buy those ideas, people to invest in those ideas. And so for the remainder of this time, I'll talk about why some of my technologies didn't come to fruition and what I've learned in my own journey. I guess in a nutshell, it's similar to the story of the videotape. There was Betamax, probably a better technology. There was VHS tapes, slightly simpler to use, slightly cheaper, that became the dominant force, even though they may not have been the best idea to begin with. But before I talk about some of the things I've developed, a little bit of background. So I'm born here in Edinburgh. I grew up just down the road, went to a local high school. Quite liked school, quite liked learning new things, so I was interested in a broad range of subjects. But I did always feel that science had the most learning for me in it. I could learn a new fact every day, and it was great. So I became a biologist. But the other thing I remember most from school is I was a member of a young enterprise company. So in my last year at school, I joined a company with my friends. We developed these notelets. Was definitely not a technology of the future, but I learned quite a lot on the way about business. I learned I will never go into business with my friends. You can fall out over the smallest things. It was utterly crazy, but I enjoyed it. And actually, this company was profitable, and it's taken me another 20 years of working hard in business to achieve the same feat again. So anyway, I left school, I went to university, I became a biologist, still really liked science, didn't want to stop, so I did a PhD in a very obscure fungus it causes a plant disease of barley plants. Really was quite a few years of difficult, hard work, and at the end of it, I just knew I was not going to become a professor of a very obscure small fungus that no one's ever heard of. But I still quite liked science. I really wanted to do something applied. I wanted to make something people might actually use. So I saw a job advert. I was really fortunate to get a job back here in Edinburgh, and I joined a small biotech company working on making fungal biosensors. So my day-to-day job was making fungus glow. It was just the best job ever. So we could use our glowing fungi to test the toxicity of stuff. So we worked with pharmaceutical industries to look at drug screening, to try and make better products. It was brilliant, the best job ever. But our customers weren't entirely convinced that the future was glowing fungus. And our investors definitely were not convinced that the future was glowing fungus. And so my second lesson in life was learnt, very similar to the first one, that an idea isn't really just the answer. You need to have people believe in it. People need to buy that idea, and investors must invest in it. So then we had enough money left in our business to try and pivot, to try and reinvent ourselves. And we were pretty good at some stuff. We were very good at making things glow. And we were also pretty good at detecting stuff. And we looked around to find out, well, who has money? Who wants to buy stuff? And we came across this gentleman who worked in the oil and gas industry. Now, don't know what you know about oil and gas industry. This was quite a long time ago now. It's quite cyclical in nature. When oil price is high, there's quite a lot of money. They can spend money on doing exciting new things. Sometimes oil price is low, and then there's less money around. Now, we hit it at the point where there was quite a lot of money in oil and gas. There were lots of big business in the North Sea. They had some challenges, and they had some money to spend. And they saw us as a really interesting company. So they wanted to know how to make their systems work better. Now, I'm a biologist. I don't know anything about oil and gas industry. I just thought, you found oil, you put a hole in the ground, it gushes out, goes to a refinery, ends up in my car. Turns out it's really not that straightforward. And they had quite a lot of issues with, well, actually, we're not really an oil industry, we're a water industry. Oil and gas produces heaps of water, and what do they do with it? Well, in the North Sea, they put it in the North Sea, they put it into the sea, it goes overboard. And they wanted to make sure it was not hazardous. There's nothing in there that's going to harm the sea, the organisms in the sea, and they'd like a better way of detecting that toxicity, that nasty stuff. Now, we could help with that. And they also use lots of chemicals to make sure that they keep flowing, it doesn't block up, they don't get lots of bugs growing in their pipelines, that they don't get leaks, so they're going to have leaks. So they put lots of chemicals in, but they weren't doing a great job of monitoring all those chemicals. And they came to us because we were a biotechnology company. They already had lots of chemists, lots of subcontractors doing chemistry, but we were different. So we could sell our products into them, and we became an oil and gas company, most unexpectedly for me. And it was brilliant. So we had an end user. They paid for all our research and development. They were going to buy our product in the end. And the other thing we did to reduce risk was we could see all this technology being used in the medical world, in hospitals and GP surgeries, where you went, you had a problem, you wanted to know if you had a particularly horrible chemical in your blood or a pathogen. You took a sample of blood, you put it in a machine, and it would tell you. So what we did was we transferred all that technology from medicine into oil and gas for the first time. So we actually had de-risked a lot of the product development too. And someone said to me at the time, you do realize oil and gas is a bit slow at adopting technology. It might take 14 years to go from idea all the way through to product. And I was like, don't be ridiculous. It can't possibly. We've got a customer, we've got money, we've got somebody else's technology we're going to use. It's all going to be great. And in a sense, it was great. And we made a product. This product looks for a chemical that stops pipelines leaking. It's been used all over the world. We probably stopped pipelines leaking. And all is great, except I'm still standing here and I'm not on my desert island. So we didn't sell as much of it as we wanted. And what turned out was that it is a great idea. It's novel. And it, by the way, it did take me almost 14 years of developing it. Utterly crazy. But the issue was that 14 years is quite a long time. And whilst the oil price was high at the beginning, by then it had dipped, gone back up again, dipped again. And in the downturn, what these big oil companies had decided was, well, we need to save a bit of money. So what we'll do is we'll try and we'll get rid of some of our people and we'll subcontract a lot more of our work. So for chemistry, they went out to their chemical subcontractors and said, do you think you could just do the monitoring of the chemicals instead of having all these other people on the platforms on site? And the chemical companies were like, brilliant. But for us, this was a real problem because our product monitors chemicals. And these chemical companies sold the chemicals and monitored the chemicals. So ultimately, we found a bit of a conflict of interest. These chemical companies the people owning the pipelines wanted them to use it, but these chemical companies didn't want to use our product. They might sell less chemical and make less money. So the idea was good. We did everything we could for market assessment and we found a customer, but even then, things got in the way. Supply chain sounds like a really dull word, but actually, these other parts of an ecosystem beyond a great idea also matter. Incidentally, I would say that sometimes changes in the supply chain and generally in the market can have a benefit. So in the past, investors got pretty excited and some companies got excited about doing a lot more medicine at home. So GP surgeries are pretty saturated, hospitals are full. So why can't we get more people doing tests in their own homes? The technology's there's lots of people working on it, but people were a bit edgy that would we really be able to do tests from home? And didn't really think so. There wasn't a huge amount of investment in it. And then after COVID, we've all got used to sticking swabs up our nose, taking pictures of samples, putting stuff in an app. And now there's a huge burgeoning of technology for at-home testing. So sometimes changes in the marketplace, in the supply chain, can have a really positive effect, if not necessarily for me. So this worked quite well. We were working on other projects at the same time. And one of the things we also thought about was when you look in Wikipedia and ask them about what is technology, the definition it gives is the application of knowledge for achieving practical goals in a reproducible way. That sounds great. So that whole aspect of knowledge, we sat and thought, well, where can we get knowledge from? We're a tiny business here in Edinburgh. Where can we get all this knowledge? And we went to talk to universities and talked to lots of academics. These are really clever people making cutting-edge technology. And we came across this wonderful person from Dundee, a dentist, or a children's dentist. And he'd had this really great idea. He thought, well, what's a tooth made of? Well, it's made of lots of calcium. What do? We get bugs in our mouth, the calcium leaves, we get a hole in our mouth, we get filling. Why don't we be clever about this and look for that calcium as it's being released in really early stages of tooth decay? Then we don't need to do fillings. We can sort the problem out, see the problem, and sort it much earlier. We thought it was a brilliant idea. He had this really great idea. He was a dentist. He knew a lot. We could help him detect it. And together we developed a product to look at tooth decay. So we can put a camera in the mouth and we can look at calcium as it's being released. And we build these beautiful maps of light that tell you where dental decay is happening. And you can do it really early on. So you can go to your dentist. They'll say, oh, you've got a bit of a problem here, brush better. Make sure you don't forget this part or put on a fluoride varnish or do something else. Now, I want this to be a technology in my future. I really do not want more fillings. So this is great. And actually, this product became its own business. It's spun out of my own business. It's in Edinburgh. It's doing great things. But again, we did lots of market research. And we also knew there was a company in America making another tooth decay device, and it was making millions of pounds. So we have a great academic. We've got a product. We've got great market assessment. Again, we cannot fail. And then it turned out when we went to America, it so happened that dentists loved this other company's tooth decay product. They used it a lot. They identified tooth decay. They did fillings. They wrote to the dental insurers. They got paid money for all those fillings. So the more fillings they could find, more spaces they could find to do fillings, the better. It was brilliant. But what we hadn't quite realized was insurers pay for fillings. They don't pay for someone to brush a bit better or put a bit of fluoride varnish on, and the dentist wouldn't have made any money. So once again, that way of money flows through a system in the supply chain really was a bit of a problem. But I'm glad to say that over the last 10 years, dentists have become quite a lot more inspired by the idea of preventive medicine. And this company in Edinburgh is now doing really great things and hopefully will become a reality to all of us. So I guess I could stand here and talk about all the great technologies I see coming, and they are amazing, and they are going to be brilliant, but I can't see what they're going to be, because in my experience, it isn't just about that idea. It's about how you get to that point and who buys it and what they do. I could... Oh, by the way, this is just one of the things I see at work. So I now work at a university because I want to be surrounded by all these people with great ideas. Maybe one day I'll help them again develop their technologies. This is actually at the National Robotarium in a building next door to mine, where I get to go talk to robots sometimes. So definitely a technology of the future, along with some other things. But I'm guessing, even if I don't know the future of technology, you probably should have had someone else come do this talk. And my best advice on that would have been a scriptwriter from Star Trek. Because honestly, they foresaw the tricorder, medicines in through sprays, the tablet. You know, these guys really do see the future. So I can talk about my own experiences and the difficulties and the great times I've had developing technology. But if you want someone who can see the future, I really would go and talk to a Star Trek writer.